Hey Lee, how are you?
Hey Joaquin, hey Rooney.
Hi.
The Trump administration separated more than 5,500 children from their families.
We asked Lee Gelernt, the ACLU's lead attorney on the family separation case, what the Biden administration can do to address the ongoing damage. Lee, what can you tell us about the impact that these separations have on the children and the families?
Yeah, thank you, Rooney, for asking that. I think ultimately, that's what we all can't forget. I mean, I worry that sometimes the aggregate statistics or the abstract policy discussions can blur the human dimension of this, and the numbers really say a lot about it, 5,500 families, but each child and each family is a story unto itself. And what the medical community told us in the beginning was that this was going to so traumatize these young children. And as I went through the case, I saw it for myself. There was one 4-year-old Honduran boy who needed glasses, and his parents were from very modest means, and they scraped together the money to buy him a pair of glasses. But they knew they couldn't afford a second pair of glasses, so they scraped together more money to buy him a glasses case. And when they came to take away the little boy, he was begging and screaming, "Don't take me from my parents." Fortunately, he was wearing his glasses, but he wasn't able to get his glasses case when they took him away. And so every day, all the mother thought about is, can my little boy see? If his glasses break, will they get him another pair of glasses? Will they give him a safe place to put his glasses at night? Another mother described how when they came to take her 18-month-old baby away, they made her strap the baby in the car, and the baby's crying and screaming. And the mother wasn't allowed to comfort him, and they had to shut the door. And as the car is pulling away, she could see her little baby craning his neck, looking at his mother while the car pulled away. Another father had a 7-year-old boy, asked them, "Can I just please have a few seconds to brace my son for what's going to happen, that you're going to take him away?" They wouldn't even give him that time. They just screamed out, "We're taking you." And the little boy is holding onto his father's leg, begging for what's happening, what's happening. And even after the reunifications happen, the trauma that's set in is so great. When one of the first children we reunited, a 4-year-old boy, the mother said, the child just keeps asking, are they going to come and take me away again in the middle of the night? And that's what the medical community said, is that kind of deep-seated vulnerability and trauma was going to set in for these children. That children at that age, the only reason the world is not so scary to them is because they think their parents can protect them from everything. But when a little child is being pulled away and sees his mother just standing there not doing anything, they realize, no, my mother cannot protect me from the world. And that kind of vulnerability just sets in. And the medical community says it literally changes the brain structure,
Of
that kind
course.
of intense trauma. Um, and I just think that what we've done is create thousands of children with deep-seated trauma. And so one of the things we're hoping the Biden administration will do is not only ensure that these families have basic necessities, backpacks for their children, clothes for their children, but also real medical care, trauma care for the children. Otherwise, I don't feel like they stand a chance to be normal functioning children or adults going forward.
Hmm. And what about family separation? Like, when did it start, and why did our government use this particular tactic?
Yeah, so the public really first learned about it in 2018, and we began learning about it at the end of 2017. But what we now know is it started right in the beginning of the Trump administration. And we originally thought maybe a few dozen kids had been separated. We now know that more than 5,500 kids have been separated, many of them just babies and toddlers. And what this administration thought they were doing is, let's do something so evil. Let's take away parents' children. And if we do that, they will give up on their asylum claims, and the word will get back to Central America that no one should come here because they're going to have their children taken away. And what I have said all along is, first of all, every expert on immigration knew that people were still going to come because they were fleeing life-threatening danger. And in fact, When I asked parents, would you have come anyway if you knew what was going to happen? They all just threw up their arms and said, well, what choice did I have? I couldn't let my child or me be killed in Central America. But the other thing, maybe more fundamentally, is even if it had served as a deterrent, we just don't do things like that in the United States. We don't just take little babies and toddlers away. I mean, we're talking about 6-month-old babies who were just ripped from their parents and sent away because this administration wanted to deter bona fide asylum seekers from coming to this country. So we are now in a horrible place where we are still searching for the parents of more than 600 children. We haven't found them. And what I think a lot of people are confused about is people think, well, those 600 are the only ones who remain still separated. There are hundreds and hundreds of other families who we have found but remain separated because the Trump administration would not allow them to be reunited. Sometimes cruelly telling the parent, your child will be on the plane, and then all of a sudden the plane takes off the parent. And so we have tracked these parents down in Central America and told them their child is in the U.S., but the Trump administration will not allow the parent to come back to the United States and has given them only two brutal choices. Either remain permanently separated from your young child or bring your child back to the very danger that from which they fled in Central America. And so what we hope the Biden administration will do are several things. One is help us find these remaining families. For the families who remain separated, allow them to come back to the United States, to reunite in the United States in safety, and then stop their deportations, because the Trump administration, even after the families reunite, are still trying to deport the families, and give the families a path to legal citizenship and create some kind of fund for these families. They desperately need help, including help with trauma-related care, and we need transparency. But the Biden administration, it's critical they do more than just help us find these families, because there are many families separated who need to be reunited, and then they need to be given legal status.
And so is this still happening? Are families still being separated at the border?
So right now, they are not being separated, but that's only because the Trump administration has completely closed down the border, and it's something we are suing about based on other policies. But before they closed down the border completely, families were continually being separated, even after the judge said, don't do it anymore. And what the government was doing is coming up with the pretext that, well, we know we can't separate anymore as a policy, but we think each individual parent might be a danger. So they separated 1,200 families after the judge said, don't do this policy anymore, claiming that the parent was a danger of the child. Well, what we have since found out is they were claiming the parent was a danger because the parent re-entered the country or had a misdemeanor offense 15 years ago, stole something, a few $100s worth of goods, dozen years ago. And so it is just a complete pretext for them to do an end run around it. So we not only need to get all these families back together, but the Biden administration needs to ensure that this never happens again. And this is the worst stain on our immigration policy that I can think of. I mean, I've been doing this work more than 30 years, and this is the worst thing that I have ever seen.
So it sounds like there are a lot of actions that need to be taken by the government and by Congress, but what can the average person do to help?
One thing I think is that letting your voice be heard, public outcry is critical. One of the things we did see with family separation is it wasn't just liberals, Democrats, it was people across the ideological spectrum saying this is horrific. Everyone from the Pope to Laura Bush to conservative religious leaders to just the average person who said this is horrific. And it really made a difference. I think it made a difference in court. It made a difference in pulling the policy back to some extent. And so I think we need to see that again whenever there are these kind of horrific things. But I think no one should ever discount the importance of letting your voice be heard on things like this.
We must demand that the Biden administration reunites the separated families in the United States, but we can't stop there.
These families deserve citizenship, they deserve resources, care, and a commitment that family separation will never happen again.